Hello everyone and welcome to a sports car that needs no introduction. Now in this category of the sports car segment there are lots of other available models and lots of manufacturers that make, but only one name comes to mind when I say the single letter C, which is this Nissan 370Z. And this is not just the standard 370Z but the Nismo version of the 370Z. Now this could probably be the last iteration of this 370Z, because after this the new model, the 400Z, which has already been revealed by Nissan, is going to be replacing this hopefully by this year end. So in today's video let's find out everything in detail about this Nissan 370Z Nismo. But before we move forward, please consider subscribing to my channel by clicking that red subscription button and make sure to press that bell icon and leave all the notifications on, so that way you will never miss any video updates from my channel. Now if you are a Nissan 370Z fan, then you've already spotted the difference in the car itself and especially in the front, but let me show you what exactly that is compared to the standard 370Z. So in the standard one you get like a very flat bumper out here just with the cutout in the center for the radiator, but on this Nismo version you get these red accents on the splitter. Then even the bumper design itself has changed a little bit. This is much more aerodynamic out here, and the lights and everything are still the standard ones from the same 370Z. These are the xenon lights, and then the turn indicators are on top. And also you would notice like this strip on both the sides, which is the DRL LED strip which has been given, and on the sides you would notice these vents. Now unfortunately these are the fake vents, so like it's just the plastic cover which has been given out there, but yeah, it makes the whole front end look much more sporty on this 370Z Nismo version. Now on the sides, the 370Z Nismo version does not have any changes to the ground clearance, but it's just that this version has been given stiffened suspensions, more powerful brakes, and when you look at these rims, these are 19-inch rims, but the difference between the front and the rear is that the front size of the tires is 245 by 40 profile, and the rear ones are 285 by 35. So they are really broad ones in the rear which have been given, and also there are these arches which are provided, so it makes the whole car really broad when you look at it from the front, from the side, or from the rear profile, from wherever. There is also this skirting at the bottom with the red striping, again Nismo details out here, and then even these side mirrors are black with the red stripe. It makes it look a lot more sportier than the standard version. Now these side mirrors are just power foldable, but they do not have any blind spot warning system or anything. They are also power adjustable, and you would notice this signature door handle, which is again standard from the 370Z. These doors are just keyless entry door handles, so you have to press the button to lock and unlock the doors. And also when you see the side profile, it's really sloping and it looks so gorgeous. Like it's been like around 13 years, it still looks so beautiful when you look at it from the side profile. It's aerodynamic and you can see the shapes flowing around at the bottom. And then in the back, actually you would see like a ducktail sort of spoiler out here with the very gradual angle, and then all the lines and the surfaces have much more smoothness to it. Even in the back you can see this huge arch out here, and even when you are looking at it from the side profile, from the side mirrors, you can actually see these arches. Yeah, it's a sight when you are driving this car. Another cool feature is this Z logo. This is actually a turning light, so it illuminates this Z logo whenever you are turning on the side lights. In the rear there are changes again to the rear bumper as well, although the top bit of the car pretty much remains the same in terms of the design, in terms of the lights and everything. But at the bottom again you would see the red striping out here on both the sides, and a little bit of changes to the bumper design and this center mounted fog lights similar to Formula 1 car. And this light was also very similar to Nissan Petrol in the Nismo version. So you can click on the pop-up banner out here and you can watch the detailed review video of the Nissan Petrol Nismo version as well. And then you get these dual exhaust chrome tips out here, big ones. Also on both the sides of the bumper you would find these vents, and I'm happy to report now on the back these vents are real, like they actually help, you know, with the aerodynamic flow of air and everything, and they are on both the sides. These tail lights are a mixture of halogen and LED included inside on both the sides. Again, the design remains pretty much same as the standard 370Z. You get the 370Z badging, the Nissan badging, and the Nismo badging out here. Now in terms of the visibility is actually pretty, you know, like a letter box out there, like very limited, and then, you know, you can just see like a top bit of the road from behind. But yeah, I mean, this is pretty much with all the sports cars, to be honest. And when we come to the boot space, you do get some boot space. Yes, you do, like, yeah, because you get like 235 liters of boot space where you can put, I don't know, your small bags, your just the normal baggage or anything. But yeah, it's very limited in terms of the boot space as well. It's actually quite high up, so you really have to raise your luggage and put everything in the bag. There's also this boot separator, which is actually it's automatically goes back, it folds back if you do not want that. But if you want like the cargo space to be separated and not seen from the rear glass, which is why they have provided that boot separator. And at the bottom of this boot you will find basically a Bose subwoofer which has been given. So yeah, that is being consumed, and then some more tool sets which are given. There are also some more tying points out here. When you step inside the 370Z Nismo, you realize, like, you know, how dated the interiors are, to be honest, because yeah, it's still based on the standard 370Z. Just there are few changes here and there, you know, in terms of the Nismo, you know, look and feel of the interior. The whole interior experience is quite basic that way, and I get for a fact that it's a sports car, and then, you know, you don't need anyways, you know, more distractions while you're driving. But yeah, there are some areas which need a little bit of update. Let's start with the interior out here. So you get plastic quality out here, soft touch plastic dashboard out here. Even the door cards have soft touch. And in terms of the Nismo quality, you get the Alcantara out here, and even the Alcantara on the seats, and, you know, on the steering wheel itself there's also a center red stripe on the steering wheel itself to show you the center of the steering wheel. Again, it's all a part of the Nismo and the sport package that you get. And the quality of material is pretty alright. Even out here they've given Alcantara. When it comes to the driver's display, again, it's pretty basic that way. You get dials on your screen, and in the center you get a big rev counter with the Nismo and the red ring around it. And on the left side you would find the information like your range, the time you've driven, and then the outside temperature, the clock, and then the detailed settings, which is very basic, maintenance alert and options, and, you know, you can just skip to that, and then your fuel economy, then you come back to your main, you know, trip. And on the right side you have the speedometer, and out there at the bottom again there is more trip information, like, you know, your trip A and trip B, which you can switch with these buttons mounted on both the sides. Now when it comes to the steering wheel, this is a nice and very well made steering wheel that I find, because it's got Alcantara on the sides and leather on top with this red stripe, as I had mentioned. There's also a Z logo in the center, but the only thing is, like, in the center there is like a lot of plastic. Yeah, like, yeah, a little bit, yeah, no, Alcantara or good quality of plastic should have been used. And then you have these magnesium paddle sets in the back, which are covered in this leather bit on the edge. So yeah, the feel is pretty premium. And even these paddle sets are like longer, so like when you're turning around, yeah, they are always accessible. And the steering wheel is only adjustable in terms of the height, so you can adjust the height of it and not the telescopic. So yeah, it's only tiltable. But also, if you observe, the dashboard itself moves around with the steering wheel, so that, you know, it does not block your view when you're adjusting the steering wheel. So yeah, that's pretty good. When you come to the steering wheel, on your right side you would find the controls for your standard cruise control system, and on the left side you would find the controls for your infotainment and also the communication control. Now when we come to the air conditioning control, straightforward button operated air conditioning conditioning system is given at the bottom. You get 2 dials on both the sides to switch on your AC, control the fan speed, and on the left side there is like a dial to control the temperature. And this is like a single zone air conditioning system any which ways. It's a 2-seater sports car, and in the center you would find buttons to change the flow of air and everything. And also you can see on your infotainment screen how much temperature and all the time. Like there's a status button, so you press that and you can split the infotainment screen. I'm going to come to that, but you can see the details out there on your screen itself. But yeah, very straightforward. And on top of that there are also these buttons and dials given for your infotainment screen. So yeah, which is why I said, like, it's kind of pretty basic and dated now, but yeah, if you think of it, it's also quite simple to operate. While driving is just easy, and you already know this stuff, how it works. Now when it comes to this infotainment screen, this is a 7-inch TFT touchscreen which has been given, and it's a touch screen, like you can use it, but it's a little far while you're driving. So they have given this dial and a whole lot of buttons out here. Honestly feels like an aircraft out here. So yeah, there are these buttons given out here for your, let's say, if you want to switch on the maps, you can switch it on. There are also display buttons. When you go to that, you can change the display settings. Then there are the map button. When you press the map, there is an inbuilt map which has been given on this one, because there is no Android Auto or Apple CarPlay in terms of the connectivity. So yeah, this is pretty much the maps that you are going to be using. And then when you go, there is like a dedicated back button. Then there is the status button. Now this status button is where you can change all the split screen options. So on the top you can see the media option, and at the bottom like air conditioning, and then that can keep changing for your navigation. You can see your fuel economy. You can again come back to the climate control, and then there is the info button in which you can see the detail in the fuel economy and all of that stuff. Then there is another button called as the setting. So you don't have to remember any of the menu choices, because everything is laid out here in form of the button operated. And then all of the options can be controlled using this dial given in the center, and then there is also the enter button. So yeah, that's pretty much it in terms of the functioning of this infotainment screen. Now when it comes to the connectivity, you can connect to this infotainment system using the USB and the Bluetooth, and that is pretty much it. And there are also 8-speaker Bose music system on this Nissan 370Z Nismo version. Now there are also 3 more dials that you see on the dashboard on top of that, and they are all inclined towards the driver. Now those 3 gauges are given for your water temperature, your battery, and there's also a clock which has been given, and they're always facing in your direction. There is also the start stop button which has the red ring around it, and then there is also Nismo badging out here near the gear lever. The gear lever is pretty standard that way, so not much changes to that. It's pretty much easily accessible as well. When it comes to the storage, you can put like very minimum storage that I find in this 370Z. It's very limited. In fact, there is no space to put your phones. First of all, like literally no space where you can put it. But when you come to the storage in the door cards, you can put like half a liter worth of bottle. That's it. And some more storage on the sides, which usually I use it to put my phone there. And on the other side, the same thing. There's also this glove box, which is decently sized glove box that you get. There's also this one center armrest, but that is also pretty tiny, and in that you can put like your phone and wallet. That's about it. And you get one cup holder, just one cup holder, which is not even flexible, but just the standard size that you can put. So yeah, it's kind of very limited in terms of the storage, but Nissan has solved that storage problem by giving you more storage in the back behind your seats, like too small storage, but you can't put like big bags or anything, just like normal stuff. But the thing is, if you put bottles or anything, it's gonna keep flying around, because when you're going around the turns and all, yeah, it's gonna pop out. There's also one storage which has been given on the left side, which you can open and put your documents, so you can securely put your documents, important ones, if you want them to be put inside. And also the thing is, while driving, this hand rest is a little lower when you're driving, so my hand is usually in the air on this side. But yeah, when I want to change the gear, yeah, that's a very comfortable position which I find whenever I'm trying to do that. Now there's one USB port and one 12-volt power socket which is given in the center armrest, and another 12-volt power socket which is given underneath the glove box. There are also the sun visors which are extendable. Yeah, that's smart again. Now when it comes to the seats, this is one of the best features of the 370Z Nismo version, because these seats are a mixture of leather Alcantara and these are Recaro seats. Now I don't have to explain you any more about what goes further from here, because it's a sports car with Recaro seats, Alcantara, leather, like a winning combination that you can think of. But yeah, at first you may think that these seats would be really hard, but no, they are actually super comfortable, and they offer you ample of support on the sides. Even at the bottom they offer you on the sides the supports. They also have this red stitching. There is also the Recaro badging out here and the Nismo badging on the top of the headrest. And the best part is these seats are all mechanically adjustable. There is no electronic bit or anything, so there are lots of dials given, and then at the bottom there is this lever to put your seats front and back, and then you can also adjust the bottom seat adjustment, how high you want, and from the back also how high you want or how lower you want. So yeah, lots of changes that you can do, but pretty much the seat functioning is very manual, and the quality of the material that they have used is pretty premium, because it's obviously Alcantara, and this is also perforated Alcantara, which you find in this red color. So this Nismo version of the 370Z is powered by the same 3.7 liter V6 engine that is given in the standard 370Z, but Nissan has allowed the Nismo engineers to fiddle around with the engine, and this engine now produces 350 horsepower and 374 Newton meters of torque, while the standard engine produces 328 horsepower, so there is an increment of 22 horsepower. But it's also to do with the exhaust system that has been modified in this one. So you have the H type of exhaust system on this, so as a result of that, the engine sounds much better on this one, much better. I'll open up the taps and let you hear that. Oh, and this engine revs up to 9,000 RPM, although it just takes a long time for this engine to reach that 9,000 RPM sometimes, which is what I find. But yeah, when it does, it sounds really sweet. Now this engine is mated to a 7-speed automatic transmission that sends all the power to the rear wheel. So this is a rear wheel drive car, and which is why it's probably one of the most sought after Japanese cars, or what you call as JDMs. So this combination of the gearbox and the engine, that's a really good one. I mean, it's for a car this old, which is around 13 years now, it's still a pretty decent combination of the engine and the gearbox, because there is also this technology where there is a downshift rev matching. So what happens is, when you are in the higher gear, and especially there are no special modes, drive modes or anything, but you put it in the manual mode, and then you can use these paddle shifters. So whenever you go down, let me go up, and then when you go down, the smooths are really crisp, like there is no jerking or anything, because of the rev matching that goes on. And even when I go down, like there is no, if you see, like there is no jerking or anything when there is a change of gears. Although when you use the paddle shifters, there is a little bit of delay, and that's when you start noticing that age of the gearbox and the whole transmission in general. But yeah, it's still a very decent naturally aspirated engine that you get on this one, because it sounds, oh, there was a little bit of tail that went out. Yeah, it's still got the bells and whistles, even though it's become old. But yeah, with this sort of fresh, sorry, everything is just flying around, but yeah, with this fresh dose of Nismo treatment on this one, it still gets that fresh bit of life, and just before the newer sibling 400Z comes in. But yeah, this is just an absolutely brilliant engine that I find. Now when it comes to the suspension and the steering, I'm going to discuss both of them together, because there's a hydraulic steering, and even the suspensions are modified, so they have been hardened up a little bit from Nissan's Nismo factory to give you that extra bit of hardness to the ride, so that the handling is improved. But as a result of that, there's also a lot of hardness to the ride. So every single bump and every single irregularity on the road surface goes directly through your spine, and yeah, you just feel all that rattling. In fact, even the chassis has been stiffened up a little bit, but there is still that lots of hardness in the whole setup, which is why everything goes directly through into your body. Now let me demonstrate the roll, because there is literally no roll, and this thing is so sharp. Everything is kind of it's like a dart. It just goes around, even though that nose is long, but it does that pretty well. Even the steering wheel itself is pretty responsive, it's agile, it's sharp, and it takes that turn wherever you want. It's just that the steering turns around, but it's just that the body takes a little while because of that chassis. They have to point in that direction, because I know for a fact that the steering is pointing in the right direction, but it's just that the body takes a little while to go into that direction. Now also the thing is, when you turn it into a corner, the steering wheel, and especially when there are bumps and everything, the steering is just way too responsive because of its hardness. Every single bump, and then it just keeps dancing around, which is why I found that sometimes if there are bigger bumps, it may start especially at lower speeds, it may start getting a little disrupted, and then when you compare it to a higher speed. So when you go at a higher speed, the engine sound is 8,000 RPM, 8,000, which is why it still doesn't utilize that another 1,000 RPM, which you can do that when you're in the manual mode. But in the auto mode, it does not go all the way up till the 9,000, but when it does, boy, it sounds really nice. Now continuing with that steering setup, it's a little harder to my liking, but this is what you need as a sports car, the harder setup, because that gives you that response. But at the same time, it also sort of impacts the ride quality of the car, and in this it's just a little bit more. Now the thing is, this car weighs 1.8 tons, and the standard one weighs 1,885. Now what Nissan has done is it's replaced the body panels, the side doors, and also the rear door, the boot one, with the aluminium panels. The arms are aluminium. Even from the infotainment system, they've removed and managed to shave off 3.6 kilograms. The seats, they are also lighter. So as a result of that, they've removed 85 kilograms and more power has been added, which is why you get that responsive car. But it's just that when you press the throttle, the car does not react immediately. That engine does not react immediately. It takes a little hesitation before it starts pushing that power down. That was a sliding moment because there is a lot of sand on this surface, which is why it's giving me that ability to just sort of dance around on this surface, and especially the rear wheel drive. So it's a win-win situation for a lot of fun. But now because there is this 3.7 liter engine, and because of all this performance on normal roads and highways, when you're cruising around, you will get anywhere between 7.5 to 8. But when you're hooning around like this, then you will get anywhere between 6 to 6.5 to 7 kilometers per liter. But that is still okay for, let's say, a sports car that is just easier to maintain, easier to drive. And I think in terms of the looks, it's still pretty decent. Now when it comes to the noise and the vibrations, that's where a little bit work has to be done, because these tires, they are big, broad, and there is a lot of tire noise that comes and leaks into the cabin, especially at higher speeds. And already the engine sound is already coming into the cabin, but that's all right because the engine is a sweet sounding one, but the tire noise, that's not so sweet. And even these windows, they tend to leak a little bit air at when it's a windy day, and when there's a lot of wind gushing around. But otherwise, apart from that, there is no vibration or anything. The rattling is pretty decent, although this support for the seat belt, that tends to make a little bit of noise when it's brushing against, that belt is brushing against the seats, which is when it makes a little bit of the noise. But that is quite okay, because you just have to adjust and make it tight, and then that noise goes away. Now when it comes to the brakes, you get 4 disc brakes, and there are 2 big calipers in the front and two in the back, and there is a weight distribution of 53:46, and when you brake and when you accelerate, it turns into a 50-50 sort of situation. But let me demonstrate you the capabilities of these brakes, because they are also again from Nismo, so they've been a little tweaked in terms of the braking performance as well. I'm trying to find out an area where I can actually safely, go to 100 and then do a brake test, because I just don't want to be ending up with a car in front or anything. But now when I go and I'm trying to, it's quite easy actually to just there's a traction light that pops up, so it's quite easy to accelerate up to 100 on this one, because you wouldn't even realize. So when I stomp on the brakes, whoa, those brakes are really grippy, and it just takes a little slide, because obviously there is a little bit of sandy surface, but when they grip, they really bite very well. Now when it comes to the safety systems on this Nissan 370Z Nismo, you get pretty much the standard safety system which you find on the 371, the standard car. So you get 6 airbags, 2 for the front driver and the passenger, 2 side airbags, and again there are also 2 curtain airbags which are given in this cockpit. There is also the vehicle dynamic control, which gives you all the chassis ability and control of not making sure you don't slide around a lot and you lose it. There's also the traction control. There is also no child isofix points in this, so sorry kids, you are not going to be taken in this car. And when it comes to the other safety systems, there is also the ABS, there is no emergency stop signal or any other bits like that, but it's just the ABS and the standard tech that you find. There is also there are also parking sensors around, and there is also a single camera reversing system. But the thing is, with that single camera reversing system, the output from the screen is a little grainy, and it's saturated and it's dull and it's black. So again, that's an area where you can see the aging of this car as well. But hopefully everything will be sorted out in the next generation. But it's still, this car is imperfect, and it's still perfect in so many ways, because it's just focused on something which is just about driving, and on that department it's just amazing what it can do. It's just really good. And this is for the first time that I have driven a 370Z, and to be driving a hardcore version from the Nismo, I'm glad that I've been able to do that. I mean, there will be lots of tuned versions also, but this is something from the factory, and for that, it's just really amazing. So this Nissan 370Z Nismo version is priced at 184,500 dirhams. Now, I know for a fact that this, for the price it's more BHP for your money for sure, because there'll be a car which you get like a hardcore sports car that you get for 184,000. I mean, there will be very few. This is pretty much like the last bit of naturally aspirated petrol engine cars that you would see, because after this it's going to be the 400Z, which is a 3-liter turbocharged engine. So this is the last bit of naturally aspirated engine cars that you can get your hands on, and I think you should definitely get that. And any which ways, this is more like a car for your project cars, the modifications, the drift car, you name it, and it's an icon. The moment people see this car, they're gonna recognize. You don't need an introduction when you're in this car. Anyways, that's pretty much it for this video. Give this video a thumbs up, and if you want to subscribe to my channel, then you can click here, and if you want to watch more videos, then click here. I shall see you in the next video. Bye bye, take care and stay safe.